Hey, congratulations. It's old news now, but to have like really worked your way up through the YouTube ranks, um, with all the courses, getting your own app, having like legions of people now. See, it went from colony to legions of guitar players who sound like you, and now you have your own guitar. I mean, it's really remarkable what you've done. I really, it's just hats off to you. Hats
I'm as
off to you.
surprised. I'm as surprised as anybody, to be honest. Genuinely, actually. It's a funny thing because again, bringing John Gone back in again. John and I, on our first day, we both went to Leeds College of Music to do jazz degree, and we were in the same year. Although John ended up, because he'd gone to the Guitar Institute, he was actually ended up being a year higher than me. And but the very first day we went in for our auditions, we were on the same audition day, and we sat round a little table as myself, John, and another guy, and we just got talking and introduced each other. And that was 1999. We've remained friends ever since. And then, basically 22 years later, we both sat there with Ibanez signature models, just going, "What on earth has happened here? This is bizarre."
It's amazing.
And the funny thing is, you as a musician or a guitar player, whatever you want label you want to give yourself, musician, guitar player, artist, you are more familiar with the flaws in your playing and the flaws in your ability than anybody else will ever be, even if they think they know what you are, what your flaws are, and they proceed to tell you all about it on your YouTube videos. You will always know better than they will where your flaws are. And of course, it's very easy to focus on those flaws and question why on earth you've ended up in the position you find yourself in. But, if you manage to stop that for a second, that inner monologue, it is, quite an amazing feeling to have a signature guitar with Ibanez. There's no two ways around it. I'm absolutely staggered by the whole thing,
Well,
It's ridiculous.
Tom, like I said, you put a lot of pressure onto that proverbial piece of coal, and there's no way around hard work. And you've gotten rewarded for it in the best way possible, really. And it's something to aim towards, because I should be talking to myself here now. There's always, the cream does always rise to the top. There is just that 5% of people who are super focused, and it's where talent meets hard work, and who knows what can happen. It's very like we spoke before this interview. There is a component of intimidation now that it's rife. It is rife. And somebody would say, well, where is it? Is it outside in the air? No, it's not outside in the air. It's on social media. It's what we do to keep in contact. I'm here in Miami. I'm not in the UK, so we're keeping in contact, via social media. And right now it seems like you turn on social media and it's just everybody is amazing. And it could be inspiring, but when you start putting your nose to the grindstone, it could be incredibly intimidating. Like, for instance, you look at Rick Beato and all of the stuff he's done with over 800 videos now, with videos just coming out all the time. He has his pedagogical thing together. Yourself, you have an app, you have people that you work with, you have somebody who codes for you, you have all of these different courses that you've come up with. Ben Unson. Hi Ben, in case you're watching.
Yeah, hi Ben.
Yeah, and Ben with all of his great courses and the how hard he's worked and the people he's played with, and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm nowhere near that good. You start to doubt yourself, and it's very difficult sometimes to move forward. And yet you look at people like yourself who just, like you said, competition was not a big deal for you. You welcomed it. And I think there was that common thread. That was music school. That was a long time ago. So if you didn't even, before anybody draws the conclusion and says, oh, it's because Tom went to music school, Tom, if I may be so presumptuous in saying, you would have been competitive no matter if you went to music school or not. You still would
Yeah,
have
and
had that.
it was such a long period between going to music school and graduating and then doing anything that was related to the modern scene. You know, I was going and doing 3 hour jazz gigs, you know, with a friend of mine, and that was how I was making my money and doing a bit of teaching. But then obviously the world shifted as the
Yep.
internet became a viable medium. And it's that thing of the worst thing you can do is do nothing through, this sounds cheesy, but the worst thing you can do is do nothing through fear of failure. You know, that does sound cheesy when you say it, because it sounds like one of those things that a guru would say, you know, but it's absolutely true that
It
if
is.
you,
It is.
like, one of the things that I always, this isn't actually related to self-achievement, if you like, so self-producing products, but if anybody ever gave me an opportunity that seemed like it was scary at the time, I would always say yes and deal with the consequences afterwards. I remember when Dweezil Zappa first said to me, "Will you come and play with the band?" when we were in Leeds, and every fibre of my body was going, "That's like that's scary because I don't know this music well.
Hmm.
The audience is not the kind of audience that would appreciate what I do,
Hmm.
and it's Dweezil Zappa and his ridiculous band. You know,
Yep.
who am I?" But I said yes anyway, and then went and dealt with the consequences and had the absolute night of my life playing with the band. So the fear and the inner monologue can often be, especially if it's perpetuated by social media, you know, making you feel worse. Like basically what all that does is amplify the inner monologue. And the hardest thing to do is to switch off the inner monologue that's generating the fear. And if you can just switch it off for long enough to make yourself take the first step into whatever it is that you're going to do, whether it's producing a lesson package or producing a video for YouTube or whatever, not worrying about how many views you're going to get. If you hate it and it's just like horrible work, then you might as, you know, don't do it, because you might as well be working in a completely unrelated job that you hate. But if you do enjoy it, you know, and you're into the whole thing, I'm not speaking to you specifically now, but just generally,
I'm
because you're
listening.
already, but
I'm listening.
you're already doing it, and but you're a great example of this, because you're producing. Like, I've watched most of your videos now, and that isn't because
Uh-oh.
you know, I'm doing it because it's like, oh well, I better watch those because then it looks like he's got some views, and I consider him a friend, and you know, I better watch them because, you know, I'd feel bad if he didn't have more views. I'm watching it because it's good content. It's really good content, and the conversations that you're having with people are not the standard, you know, roll off the end of the tongue questions that people ask. You know, we've had a different kind of conversation, and it's been a really engaging conversation. And all of those interviews are, and also then the videos that you're doing outside of that, like the social media video, for example, you know, they're engaging videos. It is just, unfortunately, one of those things where it's a trudge through YouTube these days because there's so much content. But if you don't do it in the first place, if you don't produce it, then you know what the outcome is going to be before you do it. You know you're going to fail, or not fail, but you're sort of preventing yourself from failing by failing. So it doesn't make any sense.
And the growth of social media as far as us musicians are concerned, but I'm sure it's everywhere in every genre. Um, I'm not talking musical genre, folks. I'm talking about every different kind of genre. Um, is COVID. COVID amplified the content. I mean, if there was a way to see the the percentage, the increase of percentage, I mean, I think it would be staggering to see. You know, it only took a couple of months for musicians to realize, you know what, I've got all this free time. I'm just gonna. I see. I got a cataclysmic crash of thoughts. I see all these people who are making tons of money. I see all these musicians who are doing really well. Aha! I need to put content out. They were not teachers before. They were road dogs. There's nothing wrong with that. Hats off to you guys. But now they're content creators. It is now so crowded that it is hard to take the next step and hard to take the step after that. Just exactly like you said. And
I,
go on, go on.
I think it's really important not to fall into the trap of feeling that you have to follow this. It depends what you want, but there are people who are very successful on YouTube because of an entertainment based formula. So if we put Instagram to one side for a second, but if we talk slightly longer form content, there's a whole genre now to keep it in the music genre as opposed to the wider field. But this would apply to any interest group, be it guitar, be it, a friend of mine is into cardistry, so card tricks. Whatever you're into, if you're into cars, if you're into, I don't know, show jumping, for crying out loud, whatever it is you're into, there will be a group of people who do videos who are really serious about that thing. They take it deadly seriously. They're into the nuts and bolts and the detail of that thing. They're into, that would be the guys who are teaching how to improvise, in real terms, like, solid pieces of information that you can utilize. But then there is a whole other side of it, which is the entertainment side of it as well. So the two things are integrated, like infotainment. And that is you've got to be very careful which one of those routes you go down, because the temptation is to go down the infotainment route, because that is the route that gets the really big views and the big money. For some of these people, and we can all think of YouTube channels for guitar players who are that kind of a channel, without needing to name them. But the problem is that if you're going to go down that road, you have to constantly be producing an insane amount of content that is like that, and then competing with a whole bunch of people. It's a very difficult thing to get into. And I think the only way that most people will be able to sustain this content creation thing, which is so important these days, and make any headway, very slow headway, is by producing content that they find interesting and they want to produce, not producing content because they think that content is going to have a particular effect on their viewership in terms of numbers. If you chase numbers, it's not gonna work, because you can guarantee that none of these guys who've now got big successful YouTube channels started out by chasing numbers. The numbers came, and then subsequently they might have chased numbers, but at that point they had the luxury of chasing numbers because they were already getting views. You cannot go into this thing chasing numbers. It's just not gonna work. This is the thing, and of course, none of that stuff will come across if you're cynically chasing numbers by producing, like a friend of mine, I have a friend, Dan Smith, who's incredible at like puns. He's really good at kind of coming up with comedic kind of lines or whatever.
Love it.
And he summarized this whole, clickbaity numbers chasing thing by, a hypothetical video that is like how to use a cat as a boost pedal. That's the kind of content that we're ending up with now in order to chase numbers. And if you fall into that game, I think you're on a hiding to nothing, really, because it's already been done. It's all already been done, and it's not the kind of content that you're going to find interesting, and unless you are that way out generally, which I don't think most guitar players are. Most guitar players take themselves far too seriously and kind of are thinking far too much about what they're doing to come up with really hilarious kind of YouTube videos. There are a few Stevie like that. T. Exactly. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. There are people who naturally produce that kind of content. People like him, Tyler Larson, so on and so forth, they invented this kind of genre of content. If you chase that because those are the ones that get big numbers, and that's not your natural personality. Rick's natural personality is to exude information in such a way that people feel they're getting great value out of it. He's very, very good at giving and delivering pedagogical information really, really, really well. And people feel like they come away from it. Like you watch a Rick Beato video and you feel like you're more intelligent at the end of it. That's the way that you feel like you could go away and imply that information. You feel like you understood it. Rick is very good at delivering that. But Rick also has this kind of exceptionality to, I think he feels like an expert in his field. And that's super, super important. If you're going to do what Rick's doing, you have to come across and be an expert in your field. Yep. If you're going to do what Stevie T's doing, you have to be funny. You have to find the thing that you A, enjoy doing, and B, is your thing. Just be true to who you are, as a person and as a musician, and if you're a teacher, as a teacher, and then you'll enjoy making the content. And if you don't get any views, at least you enjoyed making the content. If you hated it and you were chasing views and you still don't get any, you're onto a bit of a loser. So I don't think I've ever made a video cynically, if that makes sense.
Yes, I understand. Yeah. I mean, I used to do funny things in my videos. Especially like I did this one, the greatest pick story ever told, which is how
the greatest pick story.
Yeah, because it's how I started playing with the thumb pick. And I did all these kind of funny gags or whatever. And then I was told, hey, you know what, just nobody's going to watch the funny stuff. People just want to turn the video on and learn something. And I was thinking, well, they can learn a little bit later, I'll just do that. But no, if you look at the view time, that's what freaks you out. When you start looking at view times and you see that a lot of people bail after 6.5 minutes.
Like this,
Jesus, it's like, what it reminds me of. I don't know if this ever happened to you in music school, but it definitely happened to me. You're thinking, God, I really should practice. You know what I need to do? I need to buy some CDs.
Yeah.
Or buy a book, and then you buy it and you're like, yeah, that practicing was great. And you didn't practice.
What I used to do is I would buy the book, and then I would turn to the very last page for the juicy bit and ignore all the stuff at the beginning. And that would be it. Just that last page, like, that's got to be where the gold is. I'm going to go for that last page.
So you were doing the 5 minutes and bailing. Basically, you were doing the analog.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And actually, 5 minutes is pretty impressive. If you get 5 minutes from a viewer, that's pretty good. Generally, I think the average is 2 minutes, if that, for most YouTube videos.
Wow, this is going to do great for our 2-hour interview.
Yeah, we'll get like 0.5%. If anybody reaches this point, like a virtual high five, that's you're one of the the solid guys who's obviously super nerdy. So congratulations.
You should give them like 15% off of your app, but don't put it in the link. 15%. Put the code now.
Yeah, but if we want this video to go viral, that needs to go at the beginning. That's how you'll get all the views. That's not good YouTube. What's the word? Marketing or whatever. I don't know what you would say. No, it's not good YouTubing. YouTube strats.
Yeah, YouTube strats. Hey man, what are your YouTube strats?
Yeah, exactly. I haven't got any.
I think that, Tom, at risk of going over 2 hours, which I don't want to do, I think that any Tom Quayle is going to watch the entire video. Literally, I think that there's so much in here. I mean, if they took everything that you said in here, there'd be no reason why in a couple of years they couldn't be playing just like you.
I mean, there's nothing genuinely, right? This is really, really important. A lot of the people that you listen to, apart from some of the names we mentioned before, but a lot of the guitar players that you listen to, the reason they sound the way they do is not through some kind of inherent exceptionalism. It's through just lots and lots of obsessive work. And again, like I said, there is no way around it. I am not music. I mean, this is probably an obvious statement to make. I am not musically gifted. I'm not, technically gifted. I have reasonable relative pitch. I don't have perfect pitch. I don't have this ability. Like I can't listen to, I can listen to basic chord sequences and tell you what they are straight away. I'm not one of these musical elites that can, like when I sit down with Isaiah Sharkey, that guy hears everything he plays in exacting detail and can do the George Benson harmonizing it whilst, singing it. He can hear any chord progression and play it back immediately. I'm not one of those guys. I just have worked hard at the particular things that I do. And, nor am I incredibly intelligent or, I'm probably slightly above average, but I'm not anything exceptional there either. So it's absolutely, all of these things are achievable for anybody who puts the work into it, and I'm, as I say, I'm surprised as anybody that I am where I am right now. It's brilliant. Remarkable.
It's brilliant. It gives me hope. It really does. So Tom, I think this is a great place to love you and leave you. And
it's been awesome talking to you, actually. I mean, like I say, we haven't really had the chance to ever do this properly before. So I
feel like there should be like a part 2 to this 2-hour interview. Hey, but maybe we'll have to pick this up again, in a wee while and see where you're at, and then we can laugh at where I'm at.
Well, no, what we'll do is we'll set a thing where, like, when you reach 20,000 subs, we'll there you go. You see, we'll set something on there. In terms of we'll have a reunion when we'll obviously we should keep in touch and chat before then. But let's do part 2 when there's like this sub kind of flag that you've reached. That
sounds brilliant. So Tom, thanks again. I'll see you at 20,000. All right.
There we go. You see, perfect.